right, next we're going to be moving into the ways to sample, the correct methods of how to get a sample from your population. And there are 4 main different ways that we can sample from a population. And those are simple random sample, and you will oftentimes hear a simple random sample referred to as an SRS for a shortcut. We have a stratified random sample. We have a cluster random sample. And most students mix these two up the most, stratified and cluster. And these may sound familiar because we do them in Math 3 and AFM nowadays. And last, we have systematic random sample. I'm going to go through them right now, but there is a video I have linked in the Learn announcement under Chapter 11 if you would also like to watch a video that kind of goes through the different techniques, the different methods. All right, let's start with a simple random sample. All right, and really why it's called a simple random sample is because it's simple. It's the easiest, most logical way to take a sample. And this is the pick a name out of a hat method. Basically, give everybody in your population a number, pick some numbers. There is something we're going to talk about that's called a sampling frame. That can be a little confusing sometimes, but basically all that is let's say our population is everybody in the United States. Well, I mean, that's almost impossible to just pick from everyone in the United States. So instead, we might pick from driver's license numbers. That might be our sampling frame, a list of all driver's license numbers per state maybe or something like that. So technically there are people not included. If someone doesn't have a driver's license, they're not really included. As long as you feel like those people don't differ in some way for whatever you're trying to study, you know, you're probably still going to get a pretty good representative sample. Simple random sampling ensures that each subgroup of people has an equal chance of being chosen. That's one of the main characteristics of an SRS, is that each subgroup of people has an equal chance of being chosen. So any little subgroup of people have an equal chance of being chosen. For example, if I'm going to pick 3 from a class, any 3 people could be picked, is that idea. There's no bias. There's no somebody's more likely to be chosen or anything like that. There are multiple ways to select individuals from the frame. See page 286 in your textbook. But the most basic idea is to number each individual and then randomly select numbers. Calculators, random number table, computer software, these are all different ways you can randomly select numbers, just like we did with simulation. This is just kind of an important concept for you to start processing in your head. If different people were chosen, then different statistics, no, this would be statistics, then different statistics would be found and used to estimate the population parameters. I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. Let's call it then a different sample. Let's say a different sample would be chosen. So if we have different people, then we'll have a different sample. If we have a different sample, we could potentially have a different statistic. Kind of like when we did the Randy simulation, first block's data was a little bit different than second block. We call these sample-to-sample differences sampling variation. It's important to know that we know that will happen and we expect it to happen. We expect one sample to be a little different from another sample to be a little different from another sample. We also know how to measure that sampling variation or by like a standard deviation. And so we can learn to expect some offness and also to be able to measure how off we would expect it to be. And that way we can start going, oh, that was really kind of an odd situation. All right, so you might be asked to use a random number table or random numbers to do an SRS. So you need to make sure you know how to do that. Suppose there are 80 students enrolled in an introductory statistics class and you are about to select a sample of 5. Explain how you will use the following list of random digits found on the internet to select an SRS, or a simple random sample, of 5 students. Here are the numbers you have. So if we have 80 students, okay, then we need to have potentially from our random number table 80 outcomes. Every student needs to have a chance to be selected. If I only use single digits, I only have 10 outcomes, so I can only give 10 people a number. So I'm going to have to use 2 digits. So you need to, just like we did with simulation, explain how you are going to do this. So I'm going to write, I will assign each student a number from 01 to 80. Using the random numbers 2 digits at a time, I will select students, or I will select 5 students to be in my sample. I will ignore repeats because we can't select same person or more than one person to be in the sample, to be the same person to be in the sample twice, then we wouldn't have 5 people. So not only will we have to ignore repeats, but we also have numbers we need to ignore. If we're going to look 2 digits at a time, that's 80, that's 100 outcomes, but we only need 80 of them. So I'm also going to say I will also ignore 81 through 99, and don't forget about that little 00 guy because we didn't include him here. You certainly could have numbered them 00 to 79. You could have done that, and then you would ignore 80 to 99, and that's it. All right, so looking at our random number table, now we're going to do it. We choose person number 5, 16, 62, 93 we will ignore. 5 we will ignore because we already picked person 5 and we're not going to pick him again. 77. And last, 48. And that's using a number line to draw an SRS, or a simple random sample, of 5 people.